Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of the Identity Love podcast. I am Tracy Konane. I am a life coach and identity specialist for folks who have lost themselves in their relationships and in life and no longer know who they really are. I don't only help you to find and be yourself, but to enjoy being yourself and feel super cool as yourself. So you can show up in your relationships and your life in a completely different way, in the way that you've always wanted to show up as. This is possible for you. And so when I first started off, I was so far from the person that I most wanted to be, which is exactly why I was so dependent on my partner to make me feel good. And so this is what I want to remind you, especially if you're just joining us for the first time, that the real problem of why you struggle to feel confident as yourself, to have self-esteem as yourself, and to feel self-love towards yourself in your relationship and in your life, it's not because you're lacking something. It's not because of who you are. I was a misfit my whole life. I felt like everything was wrong with me. It's not because of that. It is because you haven't been given the chance to love your own identity, your personal identity, not the identity that you have from somebody else or from being a super fan of your favorite band or of a sports team or your job or your career or how much money you make or where you live, your ethnicity, all that kinds of stuff. Yes, that is part of how you associate and identify as yourself, but it is not your personal identity. Your personal identity is what cannot be taken away from you once something external threatens it. It cannot be taken away from you if your favorite sports team disappears off the face of the earth, or if your partner leaves you. Your personal identity is who you are as yourself, as your unique expression of yourself as a human being. And so this is what we need to nurture. And so I call myself an identity nurturer because I nurture you into who you really are. And one of the things that can prevent us from doing this is when we have things from our past that has made us feel afraid to open up and to be who it is that we most want to be in our relationships. So this podcast is about letting your partner show you who they really are, which is a special practice that I have used to save my new relationships when I felt like I was bringing all this baggage from my past into my new relationship that seemed healthier, but I couldn't separate all my paranoia and my feelings of what had happened before from this new thing. So if you have especially been hurt in the past in a previous relationship and you're wondering, how am I going to learn how to trust again? How am I going to learn how to operate in a healthy way in this relationship that is hopefully healthier because you've chosen them, hopefully for reasons that seem healthier that your ex didn't have. So you've made this more educated choice from this educated place. And now you are saying, oh my God, I feel like I'm the problem because I have all these feelings that I don't know what to do with. And I don't want to put it onto this relationship when I don't know if am I the crazy one or what? And so I just want to say I've been there. Oh my gosh, this is something that I know very, very well. And actually in my current relationship now that is going on 14 years, by the way, pretty cool. I first started off being pretty freshly out of another long relationship that had been one that was kind of intense and hurtful in many aspects. And I was not easily trusting of new relationships. And I knew that I had a lot of tension and baggage from that. And I didn't want to bring it into this new relationship that seemed a lot more healthier, but I didn't know how to operate because I still wanted to protect myself. I didn't want to just turn my brain off and expect that everything was going to be just fine. What I actually wanted to do is to make better decisions, but to also not let my emotions get the best of me. So this is what I practiced. And again, the thing is just to let your partner show you who they really are, which means you look at what you know for sure. You look at how your partner is actually treating you. You look at the bare facts, the bare actual evidence of what they are actually doing and how they are operating in the world and how they're treating you. This might sound simple, but for us, partner pleasers, people pleasers, we tend to have projections that we put onto our partners and other people that are either, usually both at the same time, putting them on a pedestal and also putting them through the ringer where we think we know what's going on with them. We think we know how they really feel, what they're going to do because we've been hurt in the past. So we're trying to protect ourselves in this new relationship. So because we tend to project and to have these fantasies about, oh my God, we have this fantasy about their potential, about who we want them to be, of this romanticized version of them. And because we also have these other projections of, oh my God, what could they be doing behind my back? What do they really mean when they say that? I think I know how they feel about me. I think that they're annoyed, without actually allowing them to just be themselves and to show us who they really are. So then we can make an opinion and a reaction and a feeling towards them based on actual reality of what this person is actually showing us. The very idea. So the thing to remember, and this sounds so simple, but we have to be reminded of this, is this person is different. It's literally an entirely different person than your ex's. This person has a whole different life within them, a whole different way of thinking, of feeling, a whole different perspective. Even if there might be things in similarity to other people, this person has their own way of doing things that we can never, ever know just by being close to them, like being in the vicinity of them. We do not know what they're actually thinking, how they're actually feeling, who they actually are until we let them prove it to us. So if you've been in the past in a relationship that wasn't very healthy and wasn't treating you right, you probably understand that there is a big difference between what someone tells you and how they actually treat you. Someone could tell you all the most beautiful things. They're like, I love you so much. You are everything. I'm going to change. I'm going to improve for us. I want to be with you. We're meant to be together. They could say all those things and then treat you the complete opposite of that. And this is what is confusing, is we feel so uplifted and validated when they say all these things. And then when they go and treat us differently, we so desperately want to cling to the validating evidence of what they had said that we make excuses against them when they actually act in bad ways. And then we stay in a relationship that isn't healthy, and we wonder why we feel so confused and so conflicted and so upset all the time. But it's because we are not focusing on the reality. The reality is, how do they actually treat us? Anyone can say, I love you and you are my everything, and I'm going to treat you like a king, a queen, whatever. But how do they actually treat you? Who are they actually being in your life? This is what we want to focus on when we're with a new person, because even if they're saying the exact same things, or even if they're not saying the exact same things as your previous partner, their behaviors, the actual reality of how they are treating you, is going to be hopefully different. Hopefully different in a good way, but we want to focus on reality. So, like I said, the whole point here that gets us in trouble is that when we have someone on a pedestal and we just are in love with this idea of them, and we're trying so hard to make them fit into that idea of that we have of them, that we are not allowing reality to be there, and we're not making educated judgments based on reality. And when we're in a new relationship, we don't want to project onto them all the baggage and all the crap from our previous relationships and put it on this person who we didn't even give a chance to prove themselves to us yet. We don't want to do that because this is an entirely different person. Why are we going to put someone else in jail because of what someone else did? Why are we going to put this new person in jail for what someone else did? It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. So that's the first thing I want to say, is that we want to live in reality. We want to focus on how the person is actually treating us, because if not, we're going to start to assume certain things about them that aren't necessarily true. And how to live in a healthy and honest relationship is to look at the honest truth. What is your partner doing? How are they actually treating you? Okay. So in my past, several relationships actually, there were people that I was with that they really wanted to get attention from other women. They really liked the attention because they said it boosted their ego. They're just having fun, whatever it is, but they always needed that. And so whenever they would go out by themselves, it usually meant that they're going to go out there and try to talk to women. And things have happened in the past where it went too far. And so if I assumed that when my new partner, whom I chose for healthy reasons, I saw that he was not like my ex, when he went out to bars by himself, I felt the feeling whelm up within me of, oh no, he's going to do it. He's going to go and flirt with people. He's just like everyone else. The only reason why he's going out there is because he wants to talk to other people. If someone comes up and talks to him, he's going to fall for them. He's going to give them, he's going to love the attention. All those things come up because I had that experience in my past. Nothing wrong with that. The only time it becomes a problem is when I believe that he is the same as my past exes without giving him a chance. So how do you give someone a chance? You let them do what they do and wait patiently for them to show you who they really are. If I had immediately gotten mad and judgmental and protective and accusatory of my current partner when he started to go out, well, not even when he started, he had always done that. So for me to come in and say, you can't do that, what are you doing? I don't like that. That wouldn't be who I wanted to be in my relationship. I don't want to be somebody who controls someone else. I want to be someone who loves someone, who allows someone to do what they want to do for themselves and to be free. And I want to believe that he could be doing something totally different. So think about your coolest self. They probably aren't sitting around trying to control and predict everything that their partner may or may not be doing once they're out of their sight. I don't want that kind of relationship, but I also want him to be free at the same time. So how do you reconcile this, right? You have to let them do what they're going to do and let them show you who they are. So I noticed he would go out and do that, and he'd still come back and want to see me, and he'd treat me well. And when I went out with him together, when we went out together, he was completely with me when he went out to the bars that he usually went out by himself to, and I went with him. He would hold my hand. He wouldn't try to act like, oh, I was single this whole time. I felt like, okay, he's not trying to hide anything. He's not trying to project that he's available for flirting or anything like that. Just little things like that where I looked at the actual evidence of what he was doing instead of the projections of what he may or may not be doing that I don't see, right? I'm trying to not judge him for things that I don't see because I don't know if it's true or not. Okay, so quick story time. A few X's back, I was with a guy who told me, he basically set a bedtime for me. He said, I don't like that you're up on the computer late. He's like, what are you doing up so late on the computer? What is this, my dad? But back then I was like, oh, you don't like that? Oh, okay. I don't know what it was, if he had an experience in the past with his partner or whatever it was, but he probably thought that I was on there trying to chat with other guys or something like that. When in actuality, I wasn't doing any of that. I'm just on the freaking internet, right? But he was basically putting his own fears and baggage and projections onto me when I wasn't doing anything wrong. And that really sucked. It really sucked. And he would create this whole thing out of nothing and make it a big deal and make it a problem when there was no problem to begin with. And so I remember how that felt. And I did not want to be that person in my relationship. I don't want to project these problems and get upset about stuff just because I can't see what's going on when I don't know. Yes, my boyfriend at the time couldn't see me at home on the computer innocently not talking to guys and just being on Wikipedia. He couldn't see that, but he projected in his mind. He thought he knew what was going on. He thought he knew I was over there sneaking around talking to guys or something. He thought he knew, just like how I thought I knew for sure what my boyfriend was doing out by himself. There's no way to know for sure. And for me to just say, well, in the past, my exes had done that, so you must be doing that. That's so unfair. I wanted to see reality. And we have to want to see reality in our own relationships. Because as partner pleasers, what we're so used to doing is thinking that we can change reality if we keep adjusting and pleasing and doing more and more and more, when that's not how it works, obviously. Like with my exes, I thought if I just made myself attractive and as pleasing and as going with the flow and everything they wanted, that they would naturally stop wanting attention from other women. I thought I could change that. But that's not what was working. It didn't work that way because no matter what I did, they kept wanting to do that. And I wasn't focused on reality. I was focused on, oh no, but I imagine once he stops doing that, everything will be perfect. If I look at all the reality of his actions, he's doing this thing that is disrespecting to me. He's going behind my back here. He said this thing here. He got mad at me unfairly for this thing. The actions were not matching up to the projection in my head of what I wanted him to be. And so as people pleasers, it is important to just clean our heads as much as possible and to know that the baggage and the inner turmoil from our past is going to be there, but we have to cleanse it daily. It's kind of like mold in the shower where it is always going to grow back, but we have to take a chance to just wash it off and not let it get too moldy so we can't see clearly and we start to have issues. So I let my feelings be there. I let my worries be there. I allowed it to just sit there and I thought, okay, I feel that I am nervous right now. I feel that I am suspicious right now. I feel that I think I know what's going to happen. But I want to live in reality. For me to assume that he is doing the same thing as someone else who is completely separate from him, for me to assume that is me living in a fantasy world and doing the same thing as what my ex was doing when he was getting mad at me for being on the computer late. I don't want to be unfair. I want to give him a chance. Give my partner a chance to show me who he really is, how he truly is going to treat me, how he's going to operate in the world. And then I will make a decision and believe what I actually see. And if I didn't do this, I definitely would have ruined the relationship because I would have accused him for things that he wasn't actually doing, and I would have assumed that he had a certain personality and motive that he actually doesn't. And so that would have been my fault. Now, if he had actually had red flags and I saw that, then of course, then that's what the reality is. But in this case, there was none of that. It was just me being paranoid, thinking, okay, when's it actually going to show up? It's going to show up. For sure it's going to show up. But I had to allow myself to be patient and to be curious just to see, what is he actually going to do? How is he actually going to treat me? And another thing to remind you is to focus on the micro actions, because I would focus on, oh my goodness, he has to come back from this bar and call me and let me know that everything is fine somehow. Like I wanted this big confirmation that everything is fine and he has to prove something to me. That's what I felt like. But we're not going to have our partners do that. We can't have them reassure us every single time. This is when we start to feel crazy and they start to feel put off and suffocated. So instead, I just watched how was his micro actions. Instead of looking for this big proof, I looked at all the little things he was doing. How did he treat me the next day? He called me, he texted me. He said what he was doing, how it went. He seemed very chill about it. He didn't seem like he was hiding anything. When we went out together, he treated me like I was his girlfriend. He wasn't trying to hide anything. And I took each concrete evidence because I had to look at what was actually there. So I was like, okay, he is actually treating me this way. He is not my ex. He is treating me in this way. And this is what I'm going to go off of. And I'm not going to make it mean that something's wrong until something is actually proving itself to be wrong. Now, I know that this seems very risky. And I know that there's a lot of sneaky people out there. And you've probably dated one of them. But I want to say that this is the best and healthiest way to operate because it gives us more time to focus on who it is that we most want to be. Even though it felt very stressful and scary to do this, it felt really good to be in charge of who I wanted to be while it was going on. Because in the past, I would have lost my shit. I would have just been a bundle of anxiety and suspicion. And I actively did not want to be that. So as I showed up differently in the relationship and allowed myself to let go and let him show me who he is, I got to be who I wanted to be in that moment. And that within itself is the reward. The reward isn't getting your partner to prove everything to you and for them to alleviate every single insecurity and fear and for them to, without a shadow of a doubt, prove that they are never going to do what your ex did. That's not it. The proof of the success of it is that you get to be who you want to be in your relationship, which builds self-esteem and self-liking within you. Because if you're like me, you could not stand yourself when you were acting crazy and living in fear of every single thing that your partner was doing. We're not attracted to ourselves when we're acting that way, which gives us even less confidence because we don't understand why our partners are with us if we're so unattractive. So this is part of us being attractive to ourselves. This is part of us actually being who we most want to be in our relationships. Instead of trying to control and solve for X and try to know for sure of all the unknowns that we can never know for sure. The whole point of identity love and having a better relationship is to be and focus on being the person that you most want to be. Because that builds self-trust and self-like and self-love within you. And when you like being who you are, it gives you so much more confidence and self-worth that if your partner shows you that they are not worthy of your trust, that you like yourself enough and love yourself enough that you can go and choose someone better. You will leave them. You will know where your boundaries are. You will see reality and not fall apart. You won't be like, oh, well, he said this, so I don't want to see that. I just want to believe that he's this way. No. We get to live in reality when we're focusing on ourselves because we're in control of ourselves. We only live in fantasy land of desperation when we're trying to control somebody else and trying to predict and trying to be all up in their head and think that we know everything about them. But there's no way of knowing that. The only way to have a better relationship and to have a better relationship with yourself is to put primary focus on showing up in a way that you feel good showing up as. And this is part of it. It's letting go and letting other people show you who they really are and you focusing on who you most want to be instead of trying to make them into who you want them to be. You live in reality and you make educated decisions based on the reality versus a fantasy land. Okay. So if you feel like you are either in a relationship that is unhealthy and you don't have the fortitude in you to leave it and you need help with this, or you have just gotten out of a relationship like that, I'm here to help you. Sign up for Identity Love Year. It is a year-long 12-month program in which I work one-on-one with you to transform the way that you are living now into the person you most want to be. It is a full transformation. I have done this with clients where they started off needing their partner so badly and they didn't want to leave this relationship. And now not only have they left their partner, but they're in such a happier place. They love who they are. They feel so good. And they are amazed at the people who have come out of the woodwork that they actually feel attracted to and are treated well by once they had this full transformation. There's a whole new world on the other side of the partner pleasing and obsessing over your partner. And I'm here to help you. I also have a free training on my website. If you are on this hamster wheel of partner pleasing, go to identitylove.com. You'll see it under free. It is a free video series that will help you wrap your mind around this and free you from the tyranny of this cycle. So until then, I want you to think about this week. Are you focusing on reality? Or are you living in a fantasy projection? Is there something that you are trying to avoid? Or is there something that you're not fully focused on where you're like, you know what? My partner is doing this for me. My partner is showing me this. And I'm over here up in my head thinking that I know more about them than what they're actually showing me that they are. I want you to look at that and to value the reality over the fantasy. Because that's how you get a healthy relationship. And that's how you have so much more time and energy to focus on you. And I want you to feel good when you are able to do that for yourself. All right. I will talk to you next week in episode 9. And until then, focus on reality and be your coolest self. All right. Bye-bye.